Welcome to Sweeping the Country. I'm your host, Derek Walker, along with me, my co-host, Mr. Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's, the whole, you're used to being cold, but the whole country is cold. And it was, I think, 10 degrees in Nashville this morning with a -1.
Holy cow.
Feel like, and we were I think we were like 9 or something in where I am in Alabama today. So
where are you?
It's cold.
Are you 9 right now, like middle of the day?
It's up to 30 something in the middle of the day.
But tonight, we're warmer than you.
Tonight's going very low. Tonight's going very low.
This is weird. We are running in the mid 40s today. So it's opposite. We're warming up.
I think that's going to fall down here by the weekend for the rest of the country. It's going to warm up. We're going to be out of this polar vortex thing.
Thank goodness. I'm done with the polar vortex.
But a lot of people, boy, I know my friends in Syracuse and up that way.
Yeah.
They've been slammed this year. This lake effect snow and every other kind of snow, they've had a lot of it. It's been a very, very difficult winter.
Yeah, no doubt. Between the winter and D.O.G.E getting crucified, I don't know where to start today.
Yeah, think about this. First of all, Democrats lost the election.
Yep.
They don't have a leader.
That is true.
Their former president stepped down. The other two presidents don't seem to want to be leaders anymore.
That's true.
The older people, they had a lot of old people like Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, true.
And she's not in the mix anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Schumer's not in the mix anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All they've got is this Hakeem guy.
Jeffries.
And he's not, he's a tin soldier. He's not it. I mean, he's pretty slick and smooth.
Yeah.
But he's like a general with no army. They're very much in a circular firing squad. Even the AOCs and people, no one's talking. I mean, they're talking, but not in unison, and they don't seem to have any bullets in their gun. Their message. There's someone at the Democratic Party is putting out their messages because they all say the same thing. That everybody's onto that now.
Yeah, right.
They find a word, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And let's see, for a day or two, it was King Trump. I think they found that didn't work. No matter what they do, and no matter what their magical word is, they try it for about a day, and the print media does it for about a day, and then they give up and they go to something else.
It's interesting. I'll tell you, you're right on the money with that. And I watch it. And it's almost like they just keep throwing things at the wall to see if they will
they're
stick.
waiting for him to screw up.
Mm-hmm.
They're waiting for them to go a bridge too far.
Which, I mean, they're probably going to do if they haven't
They've
already.
They did it already. They
right.
They canned the guys at the nuclear bombs place.
Oops.
And then they had to hire them back real quick.
Right.
They were doing that. I mean, it's just, and they're going after him on the Ukraine thing. That's created a little bit of a schism in the party. I know Mark Levine, who was always big on the Rush Limbaugh show, has his own shows on Fox. He's not too thrilled with throwing Zelensky under the bus thing.
Yeah.
I never understood quite the Republicans' anti-Ukraine stance. To me, it seemed to be because Biden was for it, they were against it. Like they're mostly, whatever Trump does is bad.
Against.
It seemed like it was that way on Ukraine.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Because that was totally an American war. I mean, Russia came down and tried to, take the land like they've done before. Ukraine fought back, but Russia would have taken them over if we have not supplied all these weapons that we have. Totally, they'd be done. And so it's our weapons, it's our satellites, it's our analysts,
everything.
It's our spy network.
It's our war.
It's America. It's an American proxy war.
Yeah, I think
that
you're right.
Nobody wants to admit, and that we've paid dearly for. Practiced with a lot of our weapons.
There's that.
Smoothed them out, and it's been good battle testing probably for us.
I think so too.
Several things.
And we've been able to build up new munitions that we got rid of some of the old stuff and have started building some of the new.
The fresh stuff is in there, so it's probably a good thing. But Trump doesn't want to. Okay, so he's going to try to end the war.
Yeah.
And what he's doing, I believe, is that he's kissing. I mean, Putin's. These people. Number one, Ukraine was. I mean, does anybody really think, and you don't have this kind of analysis out there, it would be pretty simple to say every day, did anybody really think that Ukraine was going to beat Russia?
No, of
I mean,
course
they
not.
killed
No.
a million of their people and
Yeah.
all that, and that was terrible.
Hmm.
And they've done some stuff, but did anybody really think that the Soviet Union, Russia, whoever they are these days, Putin, was going to let them just walk into Moscow, for example,
Of course not.
and just
Of
take it
course not.
over? They would have nuked them till they glowed
Sure.
before then.
Sure.
But he didn't do it, and he knew he shouldn't do it.
Hmm.
But they didn't. They knew there was only so far they could go.
Right.
In this, it's a stupid war. I think Trump is to some degree right. Putin probably wouldn't have done it if
Hmm.
he was in there. They didn't trust the spine of Biden, and they were probably right because
Yeah, I
he
wouldn't
fed them money
disagree.
and he stalled them out and killed a bunch of their people. And it was because Russia wanted that seaport.
Hmm.
They needed a warm weather port, and that's what they were trying to do, and they did get that. Now, whether they keep it
We'll
through
see.
all this, I don't know. I think they probably will.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're right. It fits into the program of the United States, right? A small country gets invaded. We come to their rescue. It's not fair. It's not right. We stand up for what's right. That's what we do.
Israel.
And so, thank you very
Same
much.
thing.
Exactly. And so it was odd that the right-hand side of the aisle had their druthers about it. And I think you are right with they were just against Biden, like people are just against Trump. It doesn't matter what he's talking
it
about.
is.
Yeah, they're going to go
It's
anti.
it's why
So-
the Democrats are so screwed up right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
I heard a Republican congresswoman say this, and it's the best I've heard yet.
All right,
She
let's go.
said it's kind of like the old song "Stuck in the Middle with You" with the Democrats, because she said some
Jokers
Democrats
to the
had
right.
called her saying we really like this, but we can't endorse it because like "Stuck with the Middle with You" is clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right.
And here I am.
They do. I mean, they've got some clowns and jokers on both sides of that,
I
just
think-
like the Republicans do, though.
Yes,
because they
yes.
can't get going in the House of Representatives on Trump's tax bill, which is his most important
Yeah.
thing that he's got going. The border's important and some of this other stuff, but that was his number one deal to keep the tax thing in there.
Yeah.
And they're all fighting among themselves, and here's the Senate trying to come up with their version, and McConnell doesn't want anything Trump's got to do with it. He announced today that he's through in 2 years, year and a half.
He should have been through already, but I'll just throw
Could have
that
been
out
through
there.
already. But he's going against anything Trump wants to do. So
Right.
you've got, again, the Republicans can never do anything in unison.
Yeah.
Democrats can. They stick together.
They seem more
like glue.
organized in the past. I will say that. And right now, like you said, it's like a snake without a head or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it is, but they still vote together.
They
That
seem to
body
be
will still
locked
walk
down.
around.
Yeah,
They
right.
did it again on Kash Patel,
Yeah.
who may or may not should have been in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about all these things. I just
Yeah, I
and
don't
do you find it a little hard to? I mean, I think we all sensed that the government was probably, people were taking money and
Oh,
being
Jimmy.
crooks and everything. But do we think that all these things that they're coming up with are legit? I mean, they're
I
real.
mean, honestly, I've been
Trillions of dollars?
Yeah, we've been seeing some talk now about the gold bars at Fort Knox and things
Well,
of
yeah,
this
they're going to
nature.
go in. Yeah,
They've
then
gotta-
people are making fun of them deal on that.
Yeah.
But frankly, as crooked as everything's been, I wouldn't mind seeing a picture of it.
Right. Let's see it. I feel like almost
We don't
we've-
trust anything.
We don't. And we've gotten to the point, too, where we've uncovered enough, or someone has uncovered enough, or at least led us to believe that they have uncovered enough, that there is pretty fair amount of corruption, right? And when you think about that, you think about all the tax money that we pitch as a collective group, the citizens of this society. We pay a lot of money. And if we're just doing that so that they can get rich on our tax money, that's a problem. And so I think it scares me to see how deep it's going. And I don't know if that's real. I don't know if it's real.
I don't either.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, Congress doesn't want to admit too much about this.
It
because
seems like,
why
yeah.
have they not? They're supposed to be in oversight. Where's
Checking.
their oversight been?
Right.
All this has been gone.
Well, they
And maybe because they're padding their own pockets is maybe where it is. Yeah,
That's
maybe
not-
D.O.G.E needs to look at Congress and see where these people are coming from.
I don't think that's
'Cause
far off.
How do you go into this thing so hardly with any money, and they all go out with $20 or $30 million,
Millionaires. Right.
and richer than they can be because they can do stock, which they're not prohibited from doing.
Which they should
we're
be.
funded about this. Let's do this.
Yeah, they should be.
It's just this. We got so much corruption
Yeah.
in the government. It's terrible. It really is.
It is. I was watching a special. I can't remember who he was talking to. It was Jon Stewart was interviewing some representative from the government. He was talking about how they couldn't pass an audit. They were trying to figure out where money had gone, and they couldn't pass an audit.
Pentagon's never hasn't been able to pass an audit.
Yeah, so he's talking about, well, why that to me that's something's wrong, right? Why can't we keep track of this money? You and I have to keep track down to the penny. I mean, I have to when we're doing our taxes. My CPA will say, where are the receipts for the donations you made to the Goodwill?
Yeah.
And it only comes total maybe $3,000 for the entire year. But I have to account for that money. And if I don't, I get penalized with a huge percentage, right? I have to pay extra, So I want to know where the accountability for the people that are managing, they're the caretakers.
Here's a Democrat guy who was real loyal, Chris Jackson, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Real loyal to Biden. And he was going after Trump because Trump took Air Force One from Palm Beach to Miami this week, which is a 25-minute flight in a 747.
Yeah.
Cost $1 million of the taxpayer money to do that. He was saying most presidents would have taken a motorcade. Well, that's not true this day and time when you've got so many threats out there. Yeah. And plus, you're going to go in drive time and morning drive. It's an hour and a half drive or whatever it is. You're going to stop entire, people going to work and screw everything up to have a presidential motorcade, which absolutely screws things up, in a town. It might have done that, but for everybody's convenience, it's just what it is. I mean, you're going to spend the money, on this Air Force One and don't start going through frivolous crap, with all these presidents we've had. They all do stuff. To go to things.
I think if we were scrutinizing and auditing or whatever every single action we ever made, we'd find every administration has been wasteful to a certain extent.
These planes are out there; they're in there anyway. I don't know if it cost $1 million. If you're going to amortize, how did you come up with that figure?
Right.
I don't know. They didn't use $1 million worth of fuel, even for a 747, and then. Are you amortizing the life of the plane that every event gets? I don't know where they come up with that figure from.
I don't
either way, it's just I'm so tired of in the last administration that everything Biden did, everything he did, he's an idiot, and everything Trump does now on the other side's an idiot. And then do we have anybody at any of these networks or any of these publications that tries to be fair? I mean, I don't think so, because everything has a tone about it that seems to be anti. I mean, how can you be anti-fraud and corruption? How can you do that? How does that work?
I don't know.
How can you be illegal? I'm for illegal people being in the country. I'm for lawbreakers. I don't all
understand.
The things that they're against. Seems weird.
I agree with you. And I wonder, I sit here and I think about those exact things, right? Like, how many people do I know that if I said, hey, my neighbor, I saw this guy, I know his name is Todd. He's stealing from your garage. I know who did it. And all of a sudden, everybody hates me because I caught the guy stealing from the garage. Why are you not upset with the guy who was stealing?
Stealing from the garage.
Right. Or why is it so important that we let the illegal, and I'm going to put that in air quotes, why is it so important that we let the illegal aliens run freely about the country? The legal ones, great. The people going through the proper channels, great. Illegal means illegal. I don't even know how to make any other definition for that. It's illegal to go against the rule, right? It's illegal to run through a stop sign.
And then on the other side of that, because that's going on. Yeah. You've got they fired whatever percentage of people. They got rid of last in first out.
That wouldn't go back to work. Yeah.
Or they wouldn't go back to work. The ones they just arbitrarily new hires all got canned.
Yeah.
And are you throwing out the baby with the bathwater in some of this stuff? Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some of these people weren't, they're, in fact, of course, the media, the network media stuff, they're all trying to find that one veteran that got the pink slip.
Right.
That really, nobody would agree that he should be fired. he should have kept his job at the VA and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, everybody's talked a good game about saving the government money, and we're going to do this, and we're going to tighten it up, and the government fat is too fat, and blah 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 blah. But no one ever does anything about it, and that includes Democrats.
Yeah,
they've always talked. Clinton and others talked about reform and this, and and they never do anything, or nothing ever gets done. This is stuff actually getting done. And it's freaking people out.
I think you're right about that, because I think in the past, when you go to Washington, when you become a senator or whatever it is, a congressman, whatever, you have these ideals in your mind that you're going to fix things, right? You're going to get there, and then you join the good old Boys and Girls Network.
Well, and you find you're swimming in peanut butter.
That's right. Yeah,
that's
right.
The things just don't move very fast. I mean, my friend Fred Thompson told me that. He said this is so slow here in the United States Senate because our forefathers planned it that way. They planned for the House to be the people's house, and it would, every 2 years they get changed. Theoretically, it never happens, but every couple of years it gets new people in there.
Yeah.
And they're like, this week, I think, the House is not in session because they're supposed to be home talking to constituents and having town meetings and that type of stuff, which they may or may not have. Some do, some don't.
I don't know.
But that's what they're supposed to be doing. But the Senate, they're advising consent, and things don't go fast there because of their rules. And that's just the way it is.
I noticed on the local level, at least here anyway, I find that whole setup still works pretty well. They have a nice turnover of Senate seats and House in the local, in the state government. They still have a nice turnover there. It seems to work pretty well. Is it possible that our government just got so gigantic, so big that it doesn't work right anymore? Maybe, I don't know. You're talking about the term, not necessarily term limits, but the rotation of these people. These people that are there now are lifers. They're lifers.
They can be, it seems.
It's crazy. And the idea was to change that over so that we could have fresh blood in there and fresh ideas and, energy and all these checks and balances. And it seems like somewhere somebody got their hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah, I never read it, but I heard it was pretty good. This Bill O'Reilly book about confronting the presidents. It tells a little bit about all of them, but as you learn a little bit, if you ever study history and learn about stuff, one person that you hear about a lot is Teddy Roosevelt. Boy, was he something.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, without him, most of these national parks out west
wouldn't exist.
They wouldn't exist. And he was one that, I think he's the last governor of New York that ever fired the mayor of New York City.
Really? Fascinating.
And she's not going to do that, they said today. She's not, but she's going to appoint some inspector generals and some other things to keep tight reins on that New York mayor. But for some reason, she didn't want to go there. But I think she didn't want to have the person that was going to do it. I don't think she wanted that person to be the next mayor. So she'd rather keep this guy than have to fool with the next one.
Interesting.
That she didn't like either. So that's a snake pit, up there in New York, and
no doubt.
It's a mess. It's a mess. But if he took an upgrade from Turkey and some of these other things that they're calling bribes, maybe it's just, I just don't trust anybody's reporting on just about anything anymore.
I don't either.
That's sad. It's just sad.
I've started now where I get onto YouTube or anywhere on the web, but if I'm on YouTube, I look at where the story came from, and I go right by it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care what the headline is anymore. I've hit that button so many times and watched something that is just ludicrous. Halfway through it, I go, this is stupid. They don't even know what they're talking about. Next. I'm going to go to the next one. And so now I look for it. Is it Sky News? Okay, I might watch Sky News. I might watch something by them.
The Sun, for example. When you see something coming from the Sun or the Daily Star, you can't even, if they even give what the date is and what day of the week it is, you might want to check that. I mean, because they're as much fiction as a Jules Verne novel.
That's true. You're so right about that. I see, for example, I'll also see like some kind of name that doesn't look like in English spelled properly. You know what I mean? Like a computer generated name. And I'll pass by. The artificial intelligence stories that I'm seeing now more and more of, and you can kind of tell by the delivery that it's not quite right. You know what I mean? By pronunciation.
The print version of it?
Yeah, print or audio.
See, I don't hear the audio, but I'm sure the audio is not right.
It's identifiable. You can there are mispronunciations that are so basic no one would mispronounce the word.
They'll get better with that.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
But garbage in, garbage out.
You got that
I'm
right.
telling you, like Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not to paint a really wide brush, but some of the stuff I'm familiar with Yahoo.
Yeah.
You wouldn't let some of these people write for the Weekly Reader.
I agree.
It's just I don't, their tone of it, whatever they're talking about is just weird.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when they get these news alerts.
What's happened now? What's going?
Votorama, the Senate GOP's next hurdle on Trump's agenda. I guess they passed Kash Patel. Is gearing up for an overnight marathon voting session.
All right.
Let's see.
I want them to earn their money.
Amendments. Yeah, he's got them going crazy.
Good.
Pave the way for passing his border security, defense, and energy.
Okay.
Members of both parties offer amendments. They're getting ready to kick it in on trying to get passed. I think they've done all the cabinet now.
Good.
Pretty sure they have.
Good. Now get to work. Let's get to work.
But they've spun their tires for as much as they could.
Yeah, no kidding. But that shouldn't happen in our government, should it? I mean, shouldn't it be as efficient as
we got into that game? If you have some real reason not to do it, but elections have consequences. Now here's another one. Did you see this week where in Arizona the governor has stopped this process down there going through the legislature that would have made the election returns come in quicker?
Oh no, I did not see that.
And and how can you be against that?
Right. Right.
They were going to put a deadline on how, because they do all this voting in advance and a lot of things that could feel like it could be monkey business.
Yeah.
And it's like the Democrats want to have as much possibility of monkey business as possible.
Yeah, I don't understand that
at all. It doesn't sound like they want to have fast, complete elections, easy, where you can, I think Republicans to some degree are against having like a Saturday elections in the country for national elections. Yeah. So nobody has to get off work and you have more people participating.
Yeah.
But they don't want that. They don't want that. And then the Democrats, now they found the secret is all this early voting,
right?
And taking the vote to Aunt George. It hadn't had a conscious thought in 5 years, but she's voting, and all that stuff. They found all that's a way to get around, the system. And so they're playing with that. We just got to cut out all this fraud and corruption in the country and with elections and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the starting point is for that, though. It feels like it's so...
You kind of got to do it all at the same time like they're doing it. There are people trying to get these laws, through these... See, Arizona, we're sitting here waiting for Arizona to come in, 2 and 3 weeks after a national election.
What is that? Yeah,
that's a bunch of crap. The whole country should be coming down on that.
Yeah.
That's not right. It's not right. They're messing around.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean... It's just monkey. It's like I've used the word 100 times.
Yeah.
It's monkey business.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason that you would be against fraud or waste or for slow down in election returns.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's the whole...
Unless you've got something to hide, it's like the audit. Unless you're doing something crooked,
you should pass.
Then you should be okay with this.
Yeah, I've been audited as a business. My wife and I ran a business for 15 years, and we got audited. It was regarding sales tax, and we were a wholesale company, so we didn't charge you tax unless you were an end user. And for example, as a restaurant supply, if I sold you paper towels and you used them as part of your serving the meal, it was taxed one way. If you used the paper towels for cleaning up a mess in the back of your restaurant, it was used for something else because you were the end.
That's confusing.
It's very confusing, and we were confused. And when we got to the audit, we got about halfway through, and the gal that was auditing, she says, "You know what the problem is?" And she says, "What? You have no way to separate what the people are using the towels for." And I said, "Well, we're a wholesaler. We thought we were wholesaling, and then they were reusing them in a package but there was a communication. We figured out what was wrong, and we started doing it correctly. They didn't penalize us.
Yeah, but when you're stealing money like they're doing up there, and I'm sure somebody's stealing money, of course they're hiding it.
That's what I'm saying.
Did you see where they were giving Stacey Abrams ran for governor, didn't win.
Yeah.
In Georgia.
Yeah. Back
whenever, a couple of years ago. Biden got her $20 million, I think, something like that.
From where? From
this climate, from one of those infrastructure bills, one of these mass bills.
Yeah.
and he had it to her climate saving group, which
Right.
that's a bunch of crap. I
Right.
mean, it's about getting an election. It was for helping get the vote out and run for the Democrats. That's what that was all
And
about.
but how can
There's
they?
no climate saving
No.
group with Stacey Abrams, please.
How can they cloak it? It's almost like this Department of USAID or whatever was like a giant super PAC fund. Like
Of course it
they were
was.
hiding everything and distributing the money however they wanted to do it. But the
And
problem,
that, like, when they're giving, let's just say 20 million again to somebody to make a play for LGBTQ, in Peru, there's no play on Broadway that
would
costs that
cost
kind of thing to
Yeah,
make.
yeah.
So they're giving dollars to the oligarchy people and something to these people,
And
then payoffs to somebody else. I mean, and nobody's asking because remember the Nancy Pelosi bill she got through? We'll read it after we pass it.
Yeah, right. Wow.
That's what's going on. That's
Right.
what a lot of this is.
And I don't have a problem if the money for that comes from private parties or it comes from whoever you want it to come from. I don't care. A rich person in an ivory tower, whatever you want to call it. I have a problem with it coming from your pocket and my pocket.
Uncle Sam.
That's where I got a
Uncle
problem.
Sam shouldn't be paying for all this monkey business.
Right, exactly.
And then people that don't want Uncle Sam, they don't want to get looked at because they know they've been doing wrong.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. And it's simple.
Like daddy's come home, mom and daddy have come home from vacation. What have you been doing while we've been gone?
Right. And we caught you.
And we caught you. Now we're finding all this liquor bottles and
Right,
God knows what
right.
under the sofa and all that stuff. And
God
that's
knows
exactly
what. Yeah.
what they've been doing. They've been hiding stuff under the sofa
Yeah.
and in the back seat and in behind the rearview mirror and everywhere else.
Yeah, and we know. Everybody knows now. We all know. I mean, it's the cat's out of the bag. So now let's get on with it, right?
Now I'm in the middle of watching this show. I think I'm at the end of episode 2.
Give it to me.
I might have fallen asleep during the episode 1 in the middle.
Are you going to recommend it?
And I may have to
after
go
you
back
fell
and
asleep?
watch it, but it's this on Netflix. There's 6 episodes.
What is it called?
0 Day or whatever with Robert De Niro. It's been advertised heavily.
I wouldn't watch it because it was him.
Well, everybody says that. And my
said
answer
it.
to that is that I refuse to have my musical choices and film choices governed by show business people
That's
and
fair.
their personal taste.
That's
because
fair.
if that's true, Paul McCartney is a nutty vegan. John Lennon was way out there in the nut zone. George Harrison was waffling. They're all crazy.
No, there are levels
Most of them are nuts.
There are levels of nuttiness.
But
There
it's
are levels
mostly
of-
nutty.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, all
Tom
right.
Hanks now, Tom
Yeah, he's
Hanks,
gone down there,
he's
yeah.
pretty far on the left, but I still love him, for what he does.
I do too.
Professionally. And
I
so
do too.
I just can't, I'm not going to let Fox News decide for me what movies I can watch and what
No,
TV
it's
shows.
fine, but I mean, maybe I didn't like him well enough before, and now he's just so bad.
Well, he's a
But
great actor. He was a great
I
actor
can't
in
argue. I
Godfather.
cannot
He's a great
argue
actor
with
in
that.
Goodfellas.
I can't argue.
In all those roles.
No, he's been great.
But he's tainted it. It's like Jane Fonda. I mean, she screwed her. What a great actress she was.
Yeah.
And just really, but she's totally screwed herself up. And Whoopi Goldberg now has screwed herself
Well, she's
up.
going down that path.
She's
really
been
is.
down. She's
Yeah.
gone. She can't. No one's going to hire her.
Okay,
for a
so
movie
go
and
back.
stuff.
Go back to Robert De Niro for a second. You're saying even if you have the skewed view of him, it's worth watching.
Well, because he's
Okay,
playing
okay.
Biden basically
Okay.
in this,
All right.
and his wife is playing Jill Biden. He's a retired president that had to quit.
Okay,
And
so
which is basically a way this could have gone. There is a black female president. I think Angela Bassett, somebody good.
You mean
is playing
Harris,
it,
is
but
it?
that's Kamala.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it, and then they're building off. There was a cyber attack on the country, so she got the ex-president to run the commission, kind of like the Warren Commission was after Kennedy was killed.
yeah.
So, and they've got great powers to do all kinds of stuff. And somebody within the Hawks within her administration wanted to bomb Russia and do all kinds of stuff. And I don't think it's Russia that's behind this, but it's not this group of Proud Boy type people that they're trying to stick it on. And
It's good, huh?
I'm just in episode 2 of 6.
Okay,
It's good, but I may have to go back and watch the
Episode
first
2.
of it again. But you really have got to park your political feelings. If you start letting your art, most people that are in art are a little weird. I mean,
Yeah, that's
they
true.
all
I'll
are.
give you that.
And if you're not going to do this because of this and this, you'll end up with nothing. You'll have nothing to listen to. You'll have
That's true.
nothing to watch
That is
or
true.
anything else. So I just can't let it totally poison me, you
Okay.
know.
All right.
And
Okay.
it has with some of my favorite actors who've kind of
Yeah, me
shot
too.
themselves in the foot. Mel Gibson, for one.
Oh no.
He became very eccentric.
Yeah.
He
Oh
went off the
yeah.
deep end after he made Passion of Christ.
Yeah.
He really did go off the deep. He made so much money in that.
Did he
Hundreds of
really? I
millions.
heard it was his most
Yes.
lucrative ever, but I don't know.
He paid for it himself. And then it was just like betting on, putting $1 zillion on, zero and spin the roulette wheel and you'd win big,
Yeah. Yeah.
35 to 1.
Yeah.
He won huge.
Yeah.
And so he built churches with it. There were two, I've told this story because I know that it's true. These two kids that had their heads together, whatever they
conjoined
call that.
twins. Yeah.
He paid for them these two twins he found out about in Central America, flew them up to UCLA or one of those
Oh, wow.
hospitals,
Wow.
had them disconnected and flew them back. I mean, he's done a lot of great things like that.
Yeah.
But then he was having some kind of issues and did some anti-Semitic remark, in which
I recall. I
when the
recall.
paparazzi was chasing him or something,
Mm-hmm.
which be enough to make a preacher cuss anyway.
Yeah. True.
Because I'm really sick of them. I wish there were laws against. I know there can't be because of freedom of the press.
Yeah.
But you really would. They were bothering Jack Nicholson the other day. Poor man coming out on a cane from the front of the
he's old.
Carlisle Hotel in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it was one of his first times out anywhere. And of course, they're all out there standing in the street.
Yeah.
And they just don't. I just wish there was some kind of something, to control that. But just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just
no doubt
feel,
about it. No doubt about
but
it.
you can't do it.
All right. So what's it called? What's the thing called again with Robert?
0 Day, I think.
0 Day. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I got to look. Let me look.
Yeah.
Because I understand it, and I've had to defend it, because it's Robert De Niro. I don't want to see it. I totally agree. I can't stand him, with his I don't totally
he is
agree
a good
at all
actor. He
with
is a good actor.
with his political views. But again, I have to list all the other nuts that are on the tree, and you just don't have
Fair.
anybody. Now, I'm not going to watch Colbert. I can't stand him.
Yeah.
Because I can't separate him from it. Jimmy Fallon, I'm sure he's on the left-hand side, but he doesn't show it. So he doesn't go around doing anti-Trump jokes or anti-Republican jokes all the time. Jimmy Kimmel is a stooge for Howard Stern.
Yeah, he wears
and he has, he was one of my favorite people before anybody knew who he was.
Yeah.
And he just got so politicized that, it's not good. And I really hate it that a lot of my favorite musical people and movies people are just, I understand because they're passionate people. See, these people are passionate, they feel it, and they just don't like, how some people, particularly Trump, how he does things. And I get it. Again, I have to remind people, no, I don't think many people, certainly 20% of the people that voted for Trump didn't do it because he was their favorite person.
Right.
They did it because they didn't want Kamala.
The alternative.
Or they didn't want the Democrat side.
Sure.
So they held their nose and went out there and voted for it. That's what they did.
Yeah, fair
And that's
enough.
what happened.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, I'll give it a try.
By the way, the big Hollywood stories today, big Hollywood story is that the people that held on to James Bond for 60 years, the Broccoli family, and Cubby Broccoli's kids, who have shepherded all these Bonds through 6 different James Bonds, finally have sold out and given up.
Oh my gosh!
One of the Michael Wilson, who was one of the producers and writers, he wanted to retire. He said, and Barbara Broccoli, who was his partner in this, just said, "Well, I got other things I'm going to do," because they got paid $1 billion to go away.
Wow!
So Jeff Bezos controls Bond now.
Oh my gosh, Jimmy, that's huge.
And he's
news.
already started with, who do you want to see as the next Bond?
Yeah.
So they're going to put somebody like, who knows?
Wow.
Leo DiCaprio is the next Bond or something. They've really kept that franchise clean. And they've made some mistakes.
I hope they
and
can
they
keep
should
it
have
going.
never killed James Bond in that last movie. That was bad. But Bond is my favorite movie series. I like it more than Star Wars.
I like it too.
James
I like that
Bond.
one. I like Mission Impossible too. It's got a little history.
But I love Bond the most, and it's been
yeah,
around.
I agree.
As long as the Beatles have.
Oh,
they
yeah.
both came along at the same time, from Dr. No and the Beatles' first album forward. In fact, Dr. No was a little bit ahead of them. And I love Sean Connery and all these folks. And then I just hate it that, I don't trust that Bezos and his people at Amazon are going to protect the franchise and are they going to do a bunch of, side stories? All of a sudden you're going to see Odd Job be the star of a cartoon.
Of course they are. Look what Disney did with Star Wars.
Yeah.
They got all these side stories, but they're still pretty
stories.
good.
I don't know how that's worked for them particularly.
I like them. I've watched them. I've been a Star Wars fan.
Mandalorian and all that stuff.
Yeah, they've been good. I think they've been good. So I don't know. Maybe.
That's what they're going to do with Bond.
Yeah.
They're going to do that. The villains, they're going to be backstories on Goldfinger and all that stuff.
No more. If they do a backstory on Live and Let Die, maybe I'll watch it. That was my favorite Bond of all. I love Live and Let Die. I know that was Roger Moore.
Got whacked. I think they didn't live through it. But, yeah. But Goldfinger, I don't think
I can't believe they sold that franchise. I can't.
Yeah, but they wanted. But Bezos has more money than anybody. Google and Bezos and 2 or 3 others.
That crazy.
Have all the money in the world. So they had already bought MGM but they thought when they got it they were getting Bond,
and they didn't.
And they were getting it, but they didn't have control over helping pick the next one or getting the next movie out or whatever. So they just worked out recently another $1 billion.
To get it all.
You go away. Yeah.
There you go. I think I'll watch a Bond movie. Now you got me all jacked up. I'll watch Moonraker or something. I'll go back and watch.
Oh, that's the worst, but I love it. I liked all of them. View to the Kill probably is to me the worst one. But no, there was another one that was with Daniel Craig. Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, that one.
That was pretty bad. All of them have their moments.
Yeah, I would agree.
But some as a whole are better than others.
But that formula, that movie.
Live and Let Die was great. That was good all the way through.
Yeah, I just love all the chases. I love all of it. And I love that Bond always wins. Yeah. Except for the one.
When Bond was in space in Moonraker, that was a bridge too far.
A little bit. Yeah, I agree.
And then Timothy Dalton was a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah, get him out of there. That's true.
I liked him personally, but
I was okay with Daniel Craig. I think Sean Connery and Roger Moore.
I got used to Daniel Craig. I got used to him.
That's fair.
Because he looked like a monkey to me.
Who was the other guy?
Look at him again sometime. He looks like a monkey.
There's Timothy Dalton.
I got used to it.
Who's the other guy? There was one other guy that didn't fit.
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, he just
I didn't like it. GoldenEye is the worst James Bond movie.
I would agree.
Of all of them.
I would agree.
Because they don't have the music. They didn't pay for the rights or something.
Interesting.
And didn't have the music, so it sucked.
Yeah.
That music is part of the character.
It's definitely part of it. I used to love the beginnings where you were looking through that eye and there would be a shot ring out and the blood would
and the full orchestra and all that stuff.
It was fantastic. Fantastic.
I've seen another big show. Even the last one where they killed James Bond, it just made me mad.
But it was still a good movie. It was still a good.
It was a good movie until then. They didn't have to kill him. They could have just made it imply that they did.
He's not dead. They got to bring him. Bezos.
I don't know that we saw his body. You're right. So maybe he didn't die.
Yeah. Let's hope Bezos can get it together enough to give us a decent Bond.
They did it with You Only Live Twice. First thing you see is in the Hong Kong harbor.
Yeah.
And they bring up into a submarine this casket thing or whatever it was.
That's right.
And he came out, he was wearing an air thing.
Yeah, that's right.
He really wasn't dead.
Which we knew.
He convinced the Russians he was dead, and that was great.
Yeah. I don't think he's dead in this one. And if Bezos
let's
bought
just say he isn't dead. We think he was going to be dead, but let's hope.
that thing blew sky high, and he was on it. But there's a chance.
Yeah, but he was down in a hole, and
he could have survived.
They planned for it to be that way.
I agree.
Yeah, that's fine. Makes me feel better. I hadn't thought about that.
All right, good deal.
All right.
All right, Jimmy. Well, until next week when we do this all again, I'm Derek Walker. He is...
You got to use the theme of this show. It's called Monkey Business. I'm Jimmy Carter.